Hello, good morning, Dr. Stinson. First, I'd like to apologize. I am under the weather. I think I may have developed the flu since last Thursday, and so I'm just now getting my voice back. I also have my tissues on standby, so I appreciate your understanding with my assignment being late. Totally understand if there's late points, not a problem. I just wanted you to know that I am here and ready to begin. Okay. So let me start by saying that this interview was done with a friend that I have known for many, many years. And to be quite honest, I did not know about his struggles with substance abuse. So this interview was very cathartic in a way. Because I feel that I was able to open up a little bit more and develop a bond um, with the client volunteer. And so I just have so much mutual respect and admiration for this person. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. So my first question for the interview, the client volunteer, excuse me, was how old are you? The client responded 40 years old. Second question, does this person have a drug of choice? So the client volunteer stated that he had sampled various types of drugs in the past. He expressed that his experience had begun in childhood due to some traumas that he didn't really want to go too much into, and I respect that. But, then he stated that his traumas and issues spiraled out of control during his adulthood, which ultimately led him to some of the detrimental choices that he made. If he had to choose, the drug of choice would be opioids. And so, what makes it the preferred drug? The client said that he enjoys this drug because of the numbing effect. Apparently, the client has suffered from chronic pain his entire life. He stated that he had an autoimmune disorder since childhood, which he was kind enough to share that it was Crohn's and ulcerative colitis attacks. And when these attacks would happen, they would often leave the client feeling physically drained from the intense level of pain he experienced. So that was, I would say, the main drive behind pursuing, you know, numbing medication. But he did also say that, opioids also help him cope emotionally. Um, he also favors, the drug because he can function like a normal person while taking the drug. What is the most regrettable outcome of the addiction? The client stated that inflicting pain on his family and friends. He said, I can't tell you how many relationships were severed because of his selfish choices. He broke trust with many people that he cared about. It's something that still haunts him. So I asked, can you expand a little bit on that? Of course, if you're comfortable with sharing. And the client agreed. And he said that the addiction isolated him from loved ones. Excuse me. My apologies. That the addiction isolated him from loved ones. He allowed it to slowly take over his life. He says, I guess I'm still dealing with the grief of it all. There were some relationships that I was able to mend, but then there were a few who wouldn't even accept my apology. It is something that bothers me, but I must have forgiveness and grace for myself. I now know better and won't let that cycle of chaos continue. The next question. Does this person have spiritual beliefs that assist in their recovery? The client responded, kind of. I do believe in God, and I do my best to have faith that He will get me through. I may not be a prime example of a devout Christian, because I'm not perfect, but I do believe that He is real. There have been many talks that I have had with God. He listens. Have you attended NA before? Yes, he responded. I can't say that it was a positive experience. I asked, can you expand on that? Again, if you're comfortable with doing so. The client stated that I felt forced to participate and didn't take it seriously. To be honest, it was a part of my probation. The atmosphere didn't feel genuine. I witnessed physical fights between group members and counselors who showed up to get a paycheck. The client's well-being was not considered. I then asked, was there anything positive that you did take away from the NA meetings? The client responded, the 12 steps were interesting. It took some time for me to understand them, but the one that stood out the most to me was step 1. We admired that we were powerless over our addiction. This step reminds me of the topic of surrender. This was something I truly struggled with. Yes, I accepted and believed in God, but did I truly surrender myself to Him and my problems? No. NA helped me accept and humble myself to the point of submission. I then asked, if I may ask, why were you on probation? The patient responded, I don't mind sharing. I was on probation for dangerous drug possession and possession of criminal tools. I was young and thought that cruising through town would be a good idea. Turns out I did not know my limits and decided to drive while being impaired. I did not cause any accidents, but I did go down a one-way lane and was pulled over by police. They searched my car and found my stash and paraphernalia. I was arrested and spent 6 months in jail. I then asked the client, how did that experience make you feel? And the client responded, the experience itself was gut-wrenching. Although it was a terrible time in my life, I am thankful. It was necessary in a way for me to realize sobriety was something I needed. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life chasing the high or buzz. It wasn't fun anymore. I finished probation and had a few setbacks in the recovery journey, but I continued to fight for a better life. I am currently 2 years sober. I am not perfect. I have made my choices and ultimately had to face the consequences. But through it all, I found my strength in God. Even in my disobedience, He never left me or forsake me. I then asked the client, thank you for participating in this assignment. I appreciate your candor and transparency. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close the interview? And the client responded, yes, there is. First, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to participate. I was nervous about this interview, but you've been very courteous to me. I appreciate your delicate nature with this topic. I'd like to leave you with this. People like me, addicts, are not hopeless. Addiction and substances can cloud your mind into believing this lie. But the fact of the matter is that life is about choices. It took me a while to develop the strength to stop the cycle, but by the grace of God, I am here. I encourage all of those suffering to seek out God. Talk to Him. He truly listens. Isaiah 30:20 through 21 says, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teacher will not hide himself anymore, but your eyes shall see your teacher, and your ears shall hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. Thanks for listening. I will now move on to the reflection portion. So the client volunteer is a 40-year-old man from Texas. He states that he has sampled various drugs, but ultimately prefers opioids. He has pain issues due to his autoimmune disorder, which is the Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. So he feels that his constant state of pain is what initially drove him into addiction. The interview process went smoothly with the client. I could tell that we were both apprehensive in the beginning of the interview, but as time went on, we became relaxed and felt present in the moment. Now, the client also mentioned that he had attended NA meetings before and found them troublesome. He was forced to attend these meetings because of legal issues that he was involved in with probation. Most drug abusers enter our treatment systems due to external forces or interpersonal crises, and rarely do they come changed with the desire to change. The client definitely expressed this exact concern with his issue in the NA meeting, as he saw members physically fighting, and then of course counselors that really were there just to get a paycheck but not really there to help the clients. After listening to the client's journey, I felt a sense of inspiration. The client often referenced God in his answers and truly appreciated his use of scripture at the end of the interview. I was left with a sense of awe. I feel that each assignment in our course has a purpose. This assignment cemented my faith in my counseling journey. How precious it is to witness God in action. Thank you so much.